So hello, Michael, and welcome to this Conversion Boost warm-up interview. Hope to get to know you and your talk and make it very exciting for people to show up at Conversion Boost in March. And actually, this is the third time you're participating. Actually, I noticed looking back, it's the ninth Conversion Boost now. So you've actually been part of it a few times before. So happy to have you
Yeah.
back.
Thank you, Ola. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be back. I was part of, maybe it's actually the fourth one. I'm not quite sure because I was part of a couple of the very early ones, but that seems like a very long time ago now.
You look the same, except there's the
Yes.
other way around.
Yeah, I used to have hair up here. That's disappeared
It
over the
was before
years.
the big
We're
beards were
back.
trendy. So,
Yes.
but I
But
believe you live somewhere rather cold. So I think that's why. Please, for those who don't know you, because obviously you can tell that I do, or we are from both from Denmark, but you don't live in Denmark anymore. Could you tell a little bit about yourself
Yes.
and also where you are, of course?
Well, I've been doing CRO full time now for over a decade, I think about 12 years now. And I've kind of been all over the place. I've spent some time with agencies. I've spent a lot of time being self-employed. I'm back to being self-employed, but I did do 2.5 years for a company in Canada in Vancouver called Unbounce. It's a tech company, and they do landing page software. So my wife and I moved to Canada so I could join Unbounce, and we ended up really liking Canada. So we're still here almost 5 years later. And I left Unbounce a couple of years ago, so I'm back to being self-employed, a freelance consultant
Yeah.
again.
If you could talk just briefly about what are we going to hear you
Yeah.
talk about in 2020?
What I'll be talking about is a cognitive bias that's known as confirmation bias. And it's kind of hinted at in the name. It stipulates that human beings have a tendency towards being biased to information that we kind of agree with already. And so we have a tendency also to not ask too many questions when the information is in line with our hypotheses and our worldview. On the other hand, if the information we're looking at goes against our hypothesis or the way we view the world, we have a tendency to reject that information unless the evidence is overwhelming. So this becomes a problem in, I would say, any discipline that seeks to uncover the truth, because if we keep, being inclined to agree with the things we already believe in, well, then there isn't much truth in that. It's hard to uncover what the real world is. And we have expert opinions, but often those expert opinions are founded in kind of the way we view the world or what we believe to be the right thing. So that can stand in the way of us actually, figuring out what the truth is and how to, for example, market in the right way to the audience, or how to, for example, build a website so it's easy to navigate. You could argue that the scientific approach is there to counter the detrimental effects of confirmation bias, in the sense that we establish a hypothesis, and then instead of trying to confirm that hypothesis is true, we try to do the opposite. We try to put it under scrutiny, and then we try to basically break the hypothesis. We come at it from all different angles, and you're trying to actually prove that the hypothesis is not true. And then if you kind of run out of ways of proving it's not true, well, then finally you're left with a hypothesis that, well, maybe it is true. So, for example, if I'm doing proper research, doing usability testing, a real moderated user test and stuff like that is really important, so that you're trying to get the information straight from the user, and you're really trying to understand what their worldview looks like, and trying to be humble enough that you kind of put your own ego and your own conclusions or hypotheses behind you. What we're trying to do with websites and apps and so on, what we're trying to optimize them, right? Are we actually looking at the evidence, and are we making decisions based on the evidence, or are we really just making decisions based on what we already believe to be correct? And in this, are we then cherry picking the evidence to support our hypotheses, or are we actually putting them under scrutiny? And I would argue, and I think there's a correct answer here, is that you should obviously not just disregard research that kind of goes against what you believe, because that's then there's no point in calling it optimization, because then it is not optimization, right? Because we're not actually looking for the right direction. We're just looking to keep doing what we've always been doing.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, because sometimes when I'm looking, like say into Google Analytics, I'm looking for problems, or I'm looking for proof that what I've done to this website actually did something. And I look at something like, let's say, just like for instance, I don't know, whatever, the bounce rate, and it's like I can't really see it. So like, okay, so I sort of disregard that data. I look at some events and go like, and then finally I find something that's like has a line, go like, there it is, that's my proof.
Yeah, exactly.
And, that feeling of like, I've got to find it because it must be there. And I think it happened. I think we all have to really be aware, because it happens all the time that if you've done something that you believe in, so you're looking for evidence of that. And I think that happens all the time when you, especially as a consultant, because that's your job. Nobody wants a report that says it's all fine, I couldn't find anything, So you're in the business of looking for things that don't work. So quickly, I mean, that's also the danger of any type of expert evaluation or even a user test. Everybody's looking for mistakes, so. And you would be confirmed. That's interesting. It's an interesting challenge for anyone who's designing anything, really.
Extremely interesting, and it's a huge challenge. It's very difficult, but I think part of it is trying to reframe the way you think. To kind of be a little bit more humble, in the sense that you have to be humble enough to accept the fact that you could be wrong, and then actually also understand that being wrong is a big part of eventually being right. Trial and error, actually learning by doing.
Sure. Let's return to the sort of the basis of your talk at Conversionboost. The confirmation bias is what you're sort of setting you off here.
Yes.
And so I'm sure we can agree that this is a genuine problem for, any humans in decision-making process, but we're talking about sort of within the world of marketers. So we're not going to give away, or you are not going, I'm telling you not to give away all the gold right now, but can you give us a hint of what is it that you are going to offer us? Because we're all just humans, and we're going to sit there in front of you, and we need help.
Sure. Yeah. Well, overall, I'll present more detailed than we did here, what confirmation bias is and how it works, and how we see it in everyday life. Show some historic examples, and also some current examples, and from there I'm going to kind of perspectivize a little bit, and then talk about how this is specifically dangerous for people in conversion optimization and marketing, or online marketing in general. And then from there we're going to look at 3 confirmation bias pitfalls. So 3 that are very, very common. I see all the time that optimizers, these pitfalls optimizers fall into. Have a lot of different examples there. And then after that, we've established kind of what the problems are. I'm going to give some different steps and solutions, practical steps and solutions to how you can, become aware first and foremost. That's the first step of your own confirmation bias, and then how to mitigate it. And again, it's I don't think humans will ever be able to rid ourselves completely of it, but at least I will help people in the audience become a bit more aware of it. And then also try to offer some practical tools for how to practice ridding yourself as much as possible of confirmation bias.